Hello and welcome. My name is Jesse Wood, and I'm thrilled to be hosting this webinar, What's New at eFileCabinet for our existing users. There are definitely some big things that we are so excited to share with you today happening at eFileCabinet. To begin, let's review the topics that we'll be covering today. First, the majority of this presentation today will be focused on eFileCabinet's newest product called Rubix. Next, we will share how Rubix fills the gap that exists between efficiently tackling your most difficult and challenging business tasks and finding the right tool set from eFileCabinet to handle those tasks, whether it be our full-featured document management tools or our secure sharing tools. We'll then spend time highlighting a few of the newest features that Rubix has to offer. And we'll conclude our webinar today by introducing 3 new products that help you, our customers, get the very most out of eFileCabinet products that you've purchased. First, short-term licenses, then our new Hero program, and finally, premium support. So, let's get started with the newest member of our team. We'd like to introduce you to Rubix. Rubix is our latest cloud-based document management system that features our most advanced technology for intelligent organization. Rubix has the ability to read and then recognize your commonly used documents and file them according to your business needs. Along the way, Rubix will select key information from those documents and use that information to create folder structure, maybe apply templates, and even properly name and store the document in the newly created area. Rubix also helps to close the gap between helping your business run efficiently and using all the necessary tools to run and operate your business. Rubix, for the first time, features all eFileCabinet's automation, sharing, and workflow technologies in the same system. Manage, share, and automate using one simple but powerful tool, eFileCabinet's Rubix. Now, before we get into the software, let's discuss a few features that are highlighted in Rubix, starting with advanced security. Security isn't just a buzzword for us here at eFileCabinet. We take storing and protecting your information quite personally. But if we make it so secure that users have a hard time accessing the system information, well, I think we've probably missed the mark. Have you ever had that one guy in the office that can't have a password more complicated than 4 digits? Or how about the person that has to access files from every continent on Earth? Or maybe even just the guy who always seems to be without his laptop and he's accessing the system from a non-protected hotel PC all the time. Well, we understand these circumstances exist, but we hope to solve these by introducing Rubix security policies. Now, what are these security policies? They allow you with flexibility to govern password complexity, multi-factor security processes, security that's determined by an IP address or a location, even getting that down to the time of day or the day of the week. All of these policies combined make for very powerful security features, but we provide an easier way than ever to manage each of these policies. Let us show you how inside the software now. Here is a first look at our Rubix environment. And to access our IP security policies, you simply select the hamburger menu, choose the admin from the panel, and then move down to security policies. Now you'll notice that I have 3 security policies explained here, and I'll go into those in just a moment. But to create a new security policy, it's as simple as clicking Create New Policy. And you can choose here from password requirements that are necessary for the system. You can choose the password frequency, the number of days before it expires. And then you can also choose inside of a policy 2-factor authentication requirements, specific IP addresses that must be used to access the system, and specific login times. Let's take a look at some of those that I have set up in the system. I'll start first with our company passwords. Here you can see that I'm requiring a lowercase, uppercase, numbers, and special characters to be part of this password. It must be 8 characters long, and after 30 days, that password is going to expire. I've not selected any other items for this policy, and as such, I've called that just company passwords. You'll also notice that I have an outside office restriction. In this has no policies regarding passwords requirements or password change frequency. It does have, however, a specific IP address that must be required when accessing the system, and I can access this Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. If I'm outside those boundaries or not at this IP address, I would not be able to access this policy. Now, what makes this so simple? It's the ability to create a simple policy and then add that to users or groups inside the system. So let me demonstrate that. If I go to our groups, I have an IP office restriction. And underneath this, I'm using the policy outside office restriction. Remember, this was giving me a IP address that I had to be accessing the system from, as well as times during the day and days during the week that I could access the system. This is a perfect example of J.R. Frisbee, who's a member of this group, not being able to access the system unless he is internal to our environment and during the office hours of our business. Now, these are very simple to use because we're able to apply any of these policies to any of our users and groups. So if I were to go back up to JR now and decide that I wanted JR to have an easy password, I simply select that from the list, and JR is now associated with those easy passwords. I click update on any of those that I add, and those are all part of the policies that JR is now added to. It's very simple to take complex security and apply that easily to any of the users and groups inside your system. As a first look at our Rubix environment, to start off, I want to show you Bubble Item Status. This is a fantastic new feature inside of Rubix that shows you exactly what's happening with any object that is selected. I'm going to choose from the J.R. Frisbee drawer, a new governance drawer here. And you'll notice over on the right-hand side, I have quite a bit of activity going. First, I've got a comment that is on this particular folder. I also have a profile that is attached to this profile or to this folder. I have permissions. There's 3 independent permissions that are for this. You can see that indicated with the bubble. I have a governance policy for retention that is governing it, and you'll notice that I am selected on this automation section where I have a start workflow action associated with this folder. As soon as I drag any file into this or save any file automatically to this, it will start the invoice approval section of workflow. And so these new bubble status items are giving you information all the time about what's happening with the objects that you have selected. We love the new bubble item status, and we think that you're going to love it too. Next, let's take a look at our new template features. To do this, I'm going to go to our admin panel, and from here, I'm going to select our templates. Inside of templates, I'll select work templates. You'll notice that I've got a tax template that I'm going to demonstrate here. Underneath this tax template, we have some new functionality that allows us, first of all, as I select bank loan, you'll notice all of the features that I can choose here. I can add a profile to this. I can set permissions for this. I can add governance policies, retention to this. I can even add automation to this if I want to, all as part of the template. But the thing that I would like to demonstrate is underneath our retained section, you'll notice that I actually have a document. This is called high risk, second doc, just as an example document. But down below, you will notice the new sync changes. This will allow you to not only add new files to locations in your templates, but you can sync those changes across every one of those templates. So if you've got 1,000 tax clients and you have new information that you need to get to all of those people who have templates, all you need to do is load that new information, say sync changes, and everywhere that template's previously been applied will now apply that document to those changes. This is going to make for very fast adjustments in your organizations. Our human resource people will love this. They're one of our main requesters of this, as they've asked when they update documentation inside personnel files, they want that documentation to go to all of those templates. This new feature will allow that to happen. The last thing that I'm just going to show you before we dive into some actual automation, I'm going to take a look at a document and show you when we say everything is in the same environment, we mean it. When I highlight this new 1040 document and I right click, you'll notice that I have the ability to share that document. From now on, when you are sharing things from our eFileCabinet and Rubix environments, all you need to do is right-click and share, and you'll notice you can simply type their email address in, put their message in, and choose what permissions they will have, and that permission is automatically added to that document or location if that's what's selected. The nice part about that, in addition to this, is that as you have multiple people to share with, and maybe even some of those are not even created as guest users in your system, they will automatically be created with that share as you create that. So you do not have to go back and create new users in the system to be able to view it. If they're a guest user, this will automatically do that in the same step. We love some of these new features, and we can't wait to show those to you. Now let's pick back up with some of the automation that we're going to be demonstrating for you in our demonstration today. Rubix also features powerful automation features. Features like file requests and zonal OCR automation make retrieving and processing files a breeze. Again, all these features are found in the same product with Rubix. File requests is a new feature we added to our sharing service. Now it is fully featured in our document management suite through Rubix. And here's an example of some of the file requests that we can send. To request files, I can simply click here or up here on the create a new request. In here, I'll choose a destination. Since we've been working with JR, let's go down and find JR for us. He would be inside of our eFileCabinet templates, and I'll find a JR Frisbee location, and I'm going to choose a retained location for this to be stored. In that retained folder, I can now type who this is to. That would be JR Frisbee, as we mentioned, and we'll choose him again. The subject of this would be please upload documents. I can even add attachments to this right now if I want an outgoing document to go back to JR at the time that I'm sending this. And I'll just type in the message, JR, these are the two files I've asked you to send, 1040, and let's call that W2. I'm going to now add two documents that we want to send. First was already populated there, and I'll call that 1040. The next I will call W2. And in here, I'm going to automatically ask that we rename these files. Now, all I have to do to send this to JR is click send. JR will receive a notification that looks something like this. He will receive a notification that says, please click here to load these files. When he does, he will view this 1040 and this W2 bucket where he can simply drag and drop his files into these buckets, and they'll be stored automatically to the location that I requested in JR's folder. This is extremely easy to request files from your recipients. You can see how fast we did that. But we can do it even faster with templates. I'm going to do this request files again, only this time I'm going to select request file from JKW Associates. This time it automatically is asking for this 2018 W2 and the 1040. It will rename those. The only thing I have to select is the destination and the email recipient. The rest is automatically there. You can see I even have this placed with a comma, and I'm just going to say JR in there, and we'll send him another request after we make a selection of his destination. And so we'll load this time into predefined names, and again just typing his email address. And then all we have to do is send it. Again, another request is sent to JR, this time with the message that I had in the template, and it's asking for these two documents. That's how easy it is to send files in our file request section. Saving templates is as easy as just creating a new one, setting the information that you want, and saying save a template. It will then appear up in your request template list. Each time you go to request files from your customers. We love file requests. We think this is going to add tremendous value to you receiving information from those clients externally. Again, just showcasing how all of our products are brought together in one roof in Rubix, all of the sharing functionality along with all of the document management functionality. To showcase the feature set that we have been discussing, we will use some recent examples to show how we use zonal OCR and workflow to accomplish our intelligent organization and business process automation. Now let's take a look at some of the automation features that are so fantastic inside the Rubix environment. First, to orient you to what we're going to be doing, I'm going to be processing some checks. Now these checks I'm going to grab from a batch here, and I'll show you that check example very quickly. This check example is going to be from Edward Giles. As I scroll down through here, you'll see that we have another check for the mortgage company, and as I scroll even further, you'll see that I have a check from the Xerox Corporation. So these are 3 checks that I'm going to process automatically in eFileCabinet. Now to use this, I'm going to use our zonal OCR product. It will be running in the background, but you will notice that I have a check selected here in a template, and I will find the name, the amount, the date, and the check number that I will use to properly store and route this information. And so let's go back to our environment here. I'm also going to be using an automated processing folder that is used in conjunction with our automated zonal OCR tool. And so anything that comes into this object, it picks up and processes automatically through eFileCabinet. Let me show you how simple this is to do. So I'm just going to take that batch. I am going to place that batch in my automated processing folder, and I'm going to wait. In the background, our zonal OCR system is going to automatically process those checks. And if I pull that up to the front, you can see it is processing 3 different pages, selecting from different forms that it could be. It automatically knows what to do, and it starts to save those files automatically. Now, what's it doing with those? Inside the eFileCabinet environment, after it finishes saving that 3rd one from the Xerox Corporation, I can now come into my checks processing location. Just refresh Rubix. As I was there previously, there was nothing. Now that I refresh that, I have all 3 of those checks automatically stored into eFileCabinet using the rules that I had set up from my template. So Edward Giles was the first that we did. It created that folder first, and then created a checks recorded. And underneath checks recorded, it put check number 13625. As I select check number 13625, you can see that it separated it out from the batch. And here in our preview, you can see it loads Edward Giles check. It was for the amount of $100. It was paid on 4/16/2015. That's an old one. And it was check number 13625. As I look further into my system, under the mortgage company, I'll also have a checks recorded folder. Follows the same process. It names this check 13626. I now can take a look at this check, and you can see it is also from the mortgage company for $690.98 on 4/16/2015 as well, and check number 13626. All of this structure was automatically created underneath each one of these, and the documents stored according to the information that is used. Now, if I highlight this check 13626 and look at the profile information, you will notice that I captured the mortgage company, $690.98, check 13626, and the date on that check. This is now searchable information, so I can find that. eFileCabinet literally does allow you to create templates in your system that automatically files the files for themselves. All I did was process those checks, and they wound up automatically in eFileCabinet. Rubix helps you stay on top of all of your business processes. By integrating zonal OCR and workflow, eFileCabinet automates your office, ensuring that you handle all processes the right way at the right time, every time. But even if your business is using these technologies, ensuring you are keeping up can be extremely problematic. How many of your businesses have grown and the overhead of the business has grown right along with you? This is very common, but this issue is easily resolved with Rubix. let's take a look at how you might use Rubix to help your office stay focused on what matters most for your customers, instead of focusing on business processes that keep you from doing what you do best. We'll start by introducing workflow. Let me introduce you to workflow. I can get to workflow in Rubix by selecting the hamburger menu and then choosing our workflow option here. This brings me into all workflow items that are happening in the eFileCabinet environment according to what I have permission to see. Now, first of all, I just want to show the dashboard, highlight a few fantastic features in workflow. If you want to know what's going on in your business, all you need to do is go into this dashboard and you can see what's happening. I've selected the last 5 days and you can see I ran many workflows through. On Thursday, 9 succeeded, 2 failed, 1 was terminated. On Friday, I ran through 17 that succeeded, 1 failed, 1 was terminated. And today I've run through 12, 2 have failed, and 1 has terminated. Now I've been controlling that in my environment to see which ones have succeeded and which ones have terminated. But let's just take a look at the different workflows that we have. First of all, this is an interactive dashboard. So as I want to drill down and get to any individual items, I can do that. You can see that I selected that invoice approval, and here I'm able to scroll through and see all of the individual invoices that I want to and where each are in the process. I can see that this Windows Plus failed with less than 1 minute was spent on it. It reached stage 3. I can see that this particular one is still in progress. It's been going for 3 days, 12 hours, 23 minutes. It's on stage 4. I can see that in this particular workflow, it succeeded all the way through the 5 stages to success and was moved to a particular directory. Again, all of these interactive, so I can hop right to those steps or go right to that instance of where that workflow is. This gives you the ability to track information happening in your eFileCabinet Rubix environment and go directly to the source. If you've got things that aren't working, things that are failing, or things that are getting held up in progress, you can see why, and you can go right to those objects and make corrections in your business process if necessary. Now let's take a quick look at the workflows that we have. I'll start first with this invoice approval. In here, it's a simple workflow, but we made it so it had lots of stages just so you can see how this process will work. Now, if I want to get a clearer view than the stages that are just presented here, I can come up to our little eye looking object here and see the workflow preview. This gives me a snapshot of everything that's happening in this workflow. I can see that when I start it, I'm going to get a new invoice, so we're going to do that automatically using Zonal OCR. But then once that it starts in the workflow, I have a choice to make through an approval. You see that by the thumbs up and thumbs down. If I were to thumbs down an invoice upon immediate receipt, it would just go to a terminated state. If I were to approve that, it now goes into a routing environment and it makes a choice whether it's greater than $100 or less than $100. And upon, let's say I went for less than $100, I still have an approval process that's given to certain approvers who can do $100 or less. And if they approve that, they can come to bring that into payment processing. And then once that's actually paid, it can go to the move to the paid directory, at which time you can now have a successful workflow. If I chose at $100 or less to stop that, it would go to a failed workflow. And so I have a choice whether or not I can let that pass through or whether I can let that fail. I have the same options when it's greater than 100. Let's take a look at what this actually looks like inside of our stages. So if I were to just open up stage 1, again, I can still see by scrolling down all the rest of my workflow as it gets to the succeeded state. But let me just show you a few great things about workflow. First of all, time frames and approvers. Time frames allows me to set a time frame if I want to on how quickly this task needs to be gotten to inside of our business. So if I said I want that within a few hours and a few minutes, I can simply type it in, how many hours I want, how many minutes I want, and this will reset the action if I expire or if I want it to. So it can repeat the stage. I can have it go to another stage. I can even have it finish the workflow or do nothing. If I don't want it to do anything after this time frame, just send alerts and notifications. In this case, I'm not going to use a time frame, but I am going to use approvers, and we love our approval process. This not only allows you to quickly choose thumbs up or thumbs down, but it can be any individual, any current assignee that's taken this stage in the workflow assignment, or any group of individuals. This means if somebody's out of the office, your business process isn't out of the office with it. You would be able to route that automatically to other people in that group, and they'd be able to pick up work as it's assigned to the group and continue your workflow processes forward. I also love the ability of being able to turn stages into automatic processes. This means no manual receipt of stages to move things along in the workflow. You can automatically have stages and steps in that workflow completed. That means no user interaction whatsoever. Now, in this case, we have a few of the stages that are going to be automatic. We have some that are going to be manual, and let's demonstrate how this is going to work. In order to do this, I'm going to take, just here at our home view, I'm going to take some invoices that are going to be processed. And I'll follow that same process before, just taking a look at the Zonal OCR invoice. I'm going to take certain information from each of these invoices and process that through eFileCabinet. So let's take a look at how this is done. I will select some invoices, copy those, and I'll just put that into my automated directory. Upon doing that, our system is going to pick that up in the background, just like we did before with the checks, and it's going to start processing some of those invoices. Now, as previously shown, we had some of the information activity taking place up top. That was invoice 1038 and that's invoice 1037. Both of those have now been brought into the system. Now, we created some structure upon that workflow in putting those in, but I want to actually demonstrate. This came from Jimmy Walker and it came from Johnny Doe. These are two new ones that we have processed, and I know they're new because they have yet to be sent for approval. I'm now going to start a workflow that has been triggered automatically for this send approval. Now, as I highlight that location and come over and look, you can see that automation is assigned automatically to this, and it's set to start the workflow for the invoice approval. So as I drag and drop this onto this location, that automatically started the workflow just because the document was there. If I'd wanted that to be automatic, I could have made it automatically go in that location. It would have automatically started it, but I wanted to actually show what happened with Johnny Doe. Now, if I come over into my activity center, you will notice that I have a notification for Johnny Doe. As I select that, it takes me automatically back to workflow and allows me to begin to work with this stage. It says that I'm the approver and I need to validate whether or not this is a valid invoice or not. I can view and preview that invoice right here by clicking on the little workflow icon. This automatically pulls that invoice into view. Here I can see that it's invoice 1037 for Johnny Doe, and that is a valid invoice. So I'm going to go ahead and let that process. Now, you'll remember when I did that, it's going to ask if it's $100 or less or if it's $100 or more. In this case, it is $100 or less, and I happen to be the approver for that. And so that moved it to stage 2. Yes, I'm going to approve this invoice. You can see also along here that our flow is updating along the way, so you can see exactly what's been happening along your workflow process. As this jumps me now to stage 4, it's telling me that I've already added a comment and it's asking me if I want to pay this invoice. I do. I'm going to select that I want to pay this on 4/22/2019. I now add that comment to that invoice, and then it's asking me if it got paid. I'm assuming that my payment department will just go fast forward and say that they did pay that. So now that's going to complete that and push that into stage 5, which is of course our successful workflow. So now when I return to the list of workflows, I have a completed workflow item for that document. Let's take a look at what happened to that invoice. Now, as we look inside our send for approval, and you will notice that inside the paid directory, I now have invoice 1037. That workflow moved that into that paid office items. That's just a quick example of how you can use workflows to move documents along and add information to that document. If I select it, you'll notice here that I have comments on this, that it was sent for approval, it was less than or equal to $100, and it was paid on 4/22/2019. Now, one of my favorite things about workflow automation is how you find this information. That comment means something when we go to search for that directory. And so I'm going to go into my search and just type paid on 4/22/2019. And when I select comments to be applicable to that search, you will now find that new invoice 1037 that we just processed there, and it's located in Johnny Doe's account, send for approval, and the paid directory. I love how fast you can find all of this information with that stuff that's automatically put on there. Now, I manually type those comments, one of those comments at least. You can have those automatically applied, as you saw in the first stage in that workflow as well. Now, let's take a look at how we bring all of these items together. Something that's probably more applicable to many of you listening today is the automatic processing of tax returns. And I am going to use, in my zonal OCR process, this Lacert return. I'm actually going to use the Intuit Lacert program to create a tax return that is automatically processed by eFileCabinet, stored, and then brought right to a point before we're going to send that out. And I'll halt the workflow at that point where you can see us getting ready to share that document out. Now, what's going to actually happen in this workflow process is we are going to go into our client's directory. We are going to create a return and put that automatically into the prepared tax returns. Prepared tax returns happens to have automation on it, where it is going to automatically start a workflow called prepared tax returns. And so what we'll do is automatically store something in here, and it'll kick off this prepared tax returns workflow. In that workflow, let's just show you really quick what that will do. This workflow will create some structure. It will then move that file into a different location and prepare that for sharing. Upon this sharing step, that's going to be a manual step, just so you can see right at the end what we're going to do to share the tax return. And so rather than you preparing this tax return, printing that and prepping it and storing it in eFileCabinet, creating the folder structure that is necessary for that for the tax client, especially if they're a new client that you don't have the information in eFileCabinet for, and then getting their email address and ready to send that to them, all of that's going to be taken all the way up to the SharePoint, and I'll demonstrate that now. I'll start first by opening up the Lacert tax application. This is just a sample copy of the tax application Lacert. And I will choose a couple, basic, and average. That's just the name inside this database for this couple. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to choose that I want to send this complete return. Now, I will indicate that the configuration that I have set up is to work with Lacert, so eFileCabinet knows when Lacert prints a return, I'm to grab that return and do something with it in the form of processing. So I'm going to simply click print that tax return, and that's it. That's all I have to do in order to get that into eFileCabinet and get that prepared to send out directly to the client. Now, when that's finished inside of Lacert, that is now preparing it, and you can see eFileCabinet has already processed that return. And so if I jump back over into my eFileCabinet view and just refresh my client's view, you will now see that I have basic and average couple has already been created, and it is ready to be processed. Now, I'm going to jump over to my queue, and I'm going to see that I have a workflow alert. When I click that, it will take me directly into that workflow and let me know it's already stored it under 2018 tax return, and it's ready for that to be shared. I'm going to just share that with my good friend JR. I'll find him in my list. In fact, I want to share that with a different email address. and I simply click the share function. When that happens, it is going to automatically complete this workflow because I've already done all the rest of this structure automatically and moved that file to a particular location, and now I'm just sharing it. Now I can go back into my eFileCabinet menu and see what just happened. Basic and average couple was created. A 2018 tax return folder was there, and it created this basic and average couple inside the eFileCabinet environment. But you will notice that that is now also shared with just the read permission, as I indicated I wanted to do, with jfrisbee@efilecabinet.net. If you look at this tax return, in just that few moments it took to automatically process that, in this case that was a 17-page return. It brought over all of this information, the name, the prepare review copy, the client ID, which in a sample database is this, and then also the date at which I created that return printed from the Lacert application program. And it's already shared with the client. Can you imagine having 1,000 returns that you need to process every single year, doing this with eFileCabinet and simply pushing print on your returns, and it's ready to share out with your client? It's created all of the structure, all of the information that you needed for that client, whether they existed or whether they're brand new, and it put the document into eFileCabinet automatically. Now, I just want to highlight that can be any tax application that this can work with. So I'm using this today with Lacert, but that doesn't matter which application you have. It will work with any of them because we have a universal integration inside of eFileCabinet Rubix that allows us to work with any processed application. And it doesn't matter even if it's a tax application, if this is a human resource program, if this is working with a financial advisor program, any of their outputs can be configured to work directly with eFileCabinet in the same way. No more are you going to be creating folders or structure or naming these documents. You set it up once, and the business process takes care of that using our automation tools and our workflow tools. It simply gets the work done automatically for you. This is the power of the new eFileCabinet Rubix system, and we cannot wait for you to start using this. As you can see, Rubix is designed to automate your everyday business process and simplify your organization so you can get back to what matters most to you and your employees. That's the reason you're in business, and eFileCabinet wants to ensure that you do this to the best of your ability. Now, who is Rubix for and when can you get it? First of all, Rubix will be available to our online and desktop customers in May. So next month, you will be able to migrate to this platform. It is important to note that those who are coming from the eFileCabinet desktop environment, you'll be moving to the Rubix cloud, so you will be moving to a cloud platform. Now, how do you get to Rubix? You simply contact one of your sales representatives here at eFileCabinet, and we will help you get started on your migration process. We'll first validate your accounts, and then we'll prepare you to migrate over on either an evening or on a weekend, depending upon your schedule and the eFileCabinet migration process. We are so excited to help some of you migrate to this brand new platform that offers all of the best of eFileCabinet functionality in the same environment. Now, these are just a few of the great new features that we have in Rubix. There's also a few new products that we're excited to share with you today. The first of which is short-term licenses. Popular request has brought this new product to light. As we've listened to your requests of helping you in your busiest times of the year, many of our customers have what's called a busy season, and they find it difficult to scale with eFileCabinet's products during those times. Well, short-term licenses allows you to purchase 3-month licenses at a low-cost rate that can be activated whenever you need them. Now, eFileCabinet scales with you when you need us most. So talk to your account representative today about adding this scalable asset to your subscription today. We are also pleased to introduce the eFileCabinet Hero program. This new 365-day assistance program is there to help ensure all eFileCabinet users are properly using and working with eFileCabinet tools. You'll receive 365 days of ongoing support, implementation, and customer success service. You'll receive one-on-one trainings as often as you need and have full access to our eFileCabinet template library for Rubix, eFileCabinet, Zonal OCR, and even customizable workflows. Let us spend our time helping you get the most out of our eFileCabinet software with our Hero 365 program. And finally, we are so happy to introduce our eFileCabinet Premium Support Service. This is technical support whenever you need it. Our support plan offers 24-hour access to our talented support team. In addition, you'll receive a dedicated phone number to reach our team, dedicated email and live chat support too. And along with this world-class service, you'll receive priority queue placement during regular business hours to ensure that you get the service that you need. We are thrilled to offer these new services alongside our great new products here at eFileCabinet. Thank you to those of you who have patiently been holding your questions. We have a support team standing by ready to answer via our chat feature, emails, and even calls should you wish to reach out to our team directly. Thank you so much for allowing us to share with you some of the new things that we have ready at eFileCabinet. We look forward to speaking with you soon.